Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Our guest today is Ms. Ladonna Maccabee. She is a #1 international best-selling author. She is also a founder, CEO, owner, entrepreneur of an e-commerce e-tailer business called At Home Sweet Home Treasures, specializing in vintage, retro, new and like new, previously loved, and many custom-made treasures. She is saving the earth one landfill at a time by teaching, reusing, reducing, recycling, and upcycling. You can ask her about Purposeful Shopping Ambassador Program for your next fundraiser. She also has affiliate income opportunities and swag swap available. She has live weekly Monday Mojo tips and Throwback Thursday flashbacks. She's a speaker, teacher, domestic goddess of the Maccabee clan, and wife to her high school sweetheart. She has 2 beautiful daughters, 4 perfect grandchildren, and fur friends. All right. And then also her web address is homesweethometreasures.net. Welcome, Ladonna.
Hello. Thank you, Karen, for having me today.
I'm sorry for tripping over your bio some. That happens, especially the longer in the day I go, I start tripping on things. Did I miss anything important? Yes, we are. Did I miss anything important that you wanted to add?
No, you did perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. So most people are going to say, okay, why are we bringing an e-tailer on a trauma podcast? And so if you don't mind, please share with us any part of your story you're comfortable sharing today about your personal trauma history.
Yes, please purchase the Cinderella monologue book. It is filled with lots and lots of stories, 22 authors, and I am one of them in there. And I go back to my childhood of living with poverty, uncleanliness, and abusive parents. And when I say abusive parents, drugs, alcohol, every domestic abuse, the 2 out of the 5 of us, I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and we really endured a lot in our childhood. You know, I can go back and remember as close to being 3 years old and being in charge of my brother that was 18 months younger than me when we go outside to play.
Mm.
That is a big undertaking for a 3-year-old. And then when we didn't toe the line, we were punished, and not just punished, we were beaten many times. And then, it just got worse over the years. And it can really take a toll on your physical and mental health. And I'm here to tell everyone that, and I want to reach everyone to say, you know what? You can overcome those battles. You don't have to grow up and be just like anyone else, parents, siblings. You can all be yourselves, and you don't have to carry that violence farther on in your life. You can stop it with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad that you used the word overcome, because that's what you did. But can you tell us how? Like, there's people out there suffering and struggling. How do we overcome?
It goes back to, I think, it was like I was made in charge of my siblings. My second brother just lived a few hours. I was very young. Don't remember any of that except what my mother has told me about that brother. But then there was another brother and sister that came later. So 2 girls, 2 boys. So I was the oldest of the 4 of us. So it was like I in my mind, somehow I was in charge when my parents started fighting. I would go get everyone and we would go hide in the bathtub. And I don't know why, but as a young child, I guess our minds think differently than now when we're adults, of course.
Mhm.
But I just thought that bathroom door was going to shelter my younger siblings. And then, the me and my brother that's only 18 months apart, he's 18 months younger than I am. We did take the toll on, because we both knew once the fighting stopped with our parents that one of us was going to, become the next victim, because they were going to stop fighting with each other. We were going to have to, toe the line, clean the house. We were going to get spanked, yelled at. And when I say spanked, there were times we only got punished, spanked like normal kids back in the day.
Mhm.
We don't spank children like that now, but we really got beaten. I mean, and when my mother told us to go get a switch, you better not bring a little brittle switch in, because she would go uproot the tree if she had to go up there. So, yeah, I mean, I still remember the time when my mom took an iron cord and beat my brother over the back. I can still remember that time. So I think it's the mental strength that I just told myself, when I grow up, I am not going to be like this.
Right.
When I grow up, I'm not going to live in filth. I'm not going to beat my children. And, they always say, if you're sexually abused, when you're beaten, you will become that same parent when you grow up. Well, let me tell you,
Not true.
I was beaten. I did not beat my children. Did I spank my children? Yes, spanking was still something that you did then, but I did not beat my children. The sexual abuse started when I was about 10 years old and did not end for 4.5, 5 years later. And it was a horrible, horrible thing that took me many, many years before I could write about it, talk about it. And I will say some people will understand and others will not. But I want to say, have I overcome the beatings? I think I have. Have I overcome the filth and the neglect? I believe I have. The sexual abuse, I've overcome to a point, but I have not forgiven. I haven't forgiven my father for doing it. I have not forgiven my mother that did not stop being his wife and continue to be in a relationship with a man that could hurt a child. And no, I have not. I have not forgiven. And I don't know that I ever will. I'm sorry for people who say you have to forgive. I don't think I can forgive that. Maybe one day I can, but no. Both of my parents are deceased and I still don't like them.
I think that's okay.
I do not.
If they wanted to be likable, they wouldn't have been assholes.
No, exactly. And you know what? And I know I met my high school sweetheart when we were 15 and married at 18. I started a family at 21. We have 2 beautiful daughters. And as my daughters got older, I hated my parents more. And then I become a grandma, which 2 of them call me Mama and 2 of them call me Granny. And as they get older, I hate my parents even more because I could never visualize abusing my children or grandchildren.
They're just too precious.
I couldn't stand for anyone to abuse them. I could not, under no circumstances. And I just think it's just staying positive, keeping that mojo going where I am not going to be like my mom. I am not going to be like my father. I am not going to be in that kind of relationship. And I remember talking to my family doctor right before my husband and I got married and said, should I tell him? And I still remember this day, my doctor said, absolutely not. Some things are better not said. I am so glad I did not listen to him.
I'm surprised he said that.
I know. It was awful. But, he hid the sexual abuse.
Yeah.
He knew about it and he did nothing. When I went to get an abortion I was barely 15 years old from the sexual abuse. When I had to go to another city to get an abortion, those doctors knew and they did nothing. So 2 sets of doctors, 2 different hospitals did nothing. They shied away and they did nothing. They did not want to get involved, I guess. But you know what? That did not help because many, many years later, it wasn't just me. There were different people in our lives that were sexually abused. And I guess I was naive and thought it was only me. It was not. It was not just me. But I can tell you, he did not touch my daughters and he did not touch my grandchildren. Because I never left their side.
Yeah.
I never trusted. Never.
Yeah,
I tried letting them be grandparents thinking they would change as far as knowing my children, but they were still living in the filth, living in the neglect, even as older adults. I just never trusted. And why should I? They never earned my trust.
Right. And I know there's lots of people that will say forgiveness is a must. And I'm not one of those people either. I think forgiveness, just like abortion, is a very personal decision that only a survivor can make.
And I made that decision at barely 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
When God is a very funny man. And if you don't believe in God, that's fine. Whatever you believe in, you wonder sometimes, why me? I don't know why me. I don't know why I was born into this black cloud of just trauma, drama, confusion. And I don't know why. I don't know why it took me to become pregnant before it stopped. But I finally just put my foot down and said, this is not going to continue. Their answers, as my parents were, well, have the baby and we will raise the baby. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not. I wasn't.
Extremely traumatizing, more traumatizing.
And I had to go research and find my own doctor. Back then there was no Miss Google to Google, and find this. I would have to get the yellow pages out, call the operator, try to find different doctors because some doctors did it, some doctors didn't. And, of course, oh my God, we couldn't tell anyone because that would be an embarrassment.
Right.
And I still don't understand that. And I wished I would have been stronger and shouted it out to the mountaintops.
Well, you are just now.
Just now. It took all these years. It's
okay. You're doing it. You're on a podcast now. You've written about it in your book.
And I wrote a whole chapter in the book. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it was easy. And it took me many, many years. and several counseling, because, and my dear husband, he's always been so supportive to try to help me through. He doesn't understand because he did not live that kind of life.
Right.
But he never judged. He never judged me on that. And like I said, him and I shortly met afterwards.
It sounds like he's a good man.
Yes, he is my white knight in shining armor. Is that how you say that?
I don't know.
The armor
mine's
man
dark.
that comes in on the white horse. I don't know. Something like that in the storybooks,
Oh,
but
Prince Charming. Yeah.
yes, there we go. And it's been difficult at times, but you know what? I just kept saying, I'm not going to be that kind of person. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I am not.
No, nobody
No
is.
perfect person on this earth.
Right. Right.
But
okay. So when on your healing journey did you decide to become an entrepreneur? Tell us about that journey a little bit.
my entrepreneurship came when my husband got out of the Army. We had one daughter in the military, one outside the military. And I decided I didn't want my girls in daycare all the time. And, that was just something we didn't want to do. Number one, even back then it was expensive. We didn't make a lot of money when we first got out of the military. And it was hard to find good sitters. And I will tell you, it was hard to make that decision, but I did become an entrepreneurship. I guess I was probably about 24 years old the first time, my first business. I was a seamstress. I love to sew, and I still do it to this day. I can make anything and everything without a pattern. That was just something. My mother did teach me that. I will give her credit for that. I was taught to do that very early on and loved it. But the business that I am in now, HomeSweetHomeTreasures.net, I started a little bit over almost 18 years ago now. My 18-year-old daughter come home. Well, she lived at home and she was going to the community area college and working and loved to shop and doing life right. And then she come home one day and said, Mom, I have to tell you something. I'm pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So we love our family. My husband and I love our girls so much. Family is number one in our lives. No matter what it takes, no matter what we have to do, we're there for each other. And that's when him and I decided we really have to do something because we want to keep her in college and keep her on her feet. And, but there was going to be a new life in her, And he just had his 17th birthday in October, and I'm still doing the same business, and I love it. And 3 more grandchildren came after that. It gives me the flexibility to spend time with my family, be a pretty much full-time wife, full-time mom, even to my adult children now. If they call and say, Mom, I need, or can you help me? I'm redoing my schedule, trying to redo things. And my grandchildren, when they're sick, they will call Mama, Granny, So we have it from 17 to 15 a 15-year-old will be 15 in about 3 weeks. And then we have a 14-year-old granddaughter and a 3-year-old grandson. So we have them from 17 to 3. And I love my business. I love my customers. My customers are, they're the bread and butter, and we treat our customers right.
Beautiful. So what's next for you? I know you wrote a chapter in the Cinderella monologues, and I know you and I are both going to be in a book that will be released before this podcast comes out. Do you want to share the title with the audience?
Well, what was it? We decided, I love the subtitle, Our Messy Lives.
Yeah, Our Messy Lives is the subtitle. And that's how I remember it too. I think it's our stories.
Yeah, something about our stories, stories. But I love the subtitle, Our Messy Lives.
Our Messy
And,
Lives.
I think everyone, if they're honest, you're sometime or another, you live in messy lives.
Mhm.
And my story in our messy lives is about my daughter, my oldest daughter, and my 17-year-old grandson, because families have those type of things.
Mhm.
And we have to know as parents and grandparents how to deal with it. I'm not going to be my mother. I'm not going to be my father. I am not going to treat my family cruel. I'm going to be the best mom and best grandma that I can possibly be. I never wanted to have children because I didn't think I could be a good parent, because
Wow.
what role models did I have to do that with? But I took classes. I read books. I read magazines. I read articles. I went to the library to try to learn.
That's very empowering. Very, very empowering. And the number one gift that we can give children, and it doesn't cost money, is unconditional love. That's
Yes,
the
ma'am.
best thing we can give them.
Yes, ma'am. Because there's no one perfect. Guess what? I wanted my children to be perfect, but there is no such. There is just no such person out there,
Mhm.
and they have to live, it's just like me. I've made a lot of errors in my life. No one's perfect. I've learned from them. And, I just embrace my family and life. And I'm hoping, when you ask me what my future, I think is what you asked me.
What's next? Yep.
I am hoping that I can put one big book together.
Yay, me too.
And I hope it becomes the number one New York seller.
All right.
I hope, because I want to reach everyone out there. I want to be able to tell them you're not alone in any circumstance. I haven't been through every circumstance on earth by all means, but I feel like I've been through several and have learned from them. And, I just want to give people ease of mind to know that you are not alone. Reach out to me. If you've been abused physically, mentally, beaten, verbally, I've been through all of that.
Neglect.
I've been through all of that. I've been through all of the abuses I think that there are out there, to be honest with you, when it comes to my parents, and I've overcome it somehow, some way, without a support system until I was older. My husband didn't know about it until right before we got married. And he was very supportive at that point, and always has been. He doesn't understand it, but he is supportive for whatever I need.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So other than survivors out there are not alone, there's a whole community of us across the globe, and reaching out for help, with whether it's a therapist or support group, or just anyone that has a history that's maybe one or two steps ahead that could help guide you. So Ladonna, anyone that wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can reach out to me. I am everywhere on social media, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. You can email me, homesweethometreasures@hotmail. I'm here. And again, just know you're not alone. It wasn't your fault. I was told so many times that it was my fault. It was not my fault. It was not my fault.
That's
and
right.
It took me a long time to figure out it really wasn't, because I was told it was my fault.
I'm glad you know the truth now.
Yes, it took some time. It took some health, some wisdom, just time. And you know what again, out there for all you guys, women, men, children, even if you're a child listening to this, knowing you're not alone and knowing that there is help. And, when I went through this, there was no Google. There was no, as far as I know, there were no support groups, because back then it was, shh, you're going to embarrass the family. You can't embarrass yourself. You can't embarrass your family. You can't embarrass your brothers and sisters. Oh my God, no, means do not embarrass your mom and dad. You know what? It's not about them. It's about us. At one point or another, you have to say, it's about me. This is about me. Mm-hmm. This is about the healthy choices that I want to make. And nowadays, you have so much out there. You can research, you can Google, there's forums, there's podcasts, there's emails and phone numbers, and so many of us that are out there willing to at least listen, give you a shoulder, a screen to cry on, knowing that you are not the fault.
Thank you so much, Ladonna. It's been wonderful having you on today.
Thank you so much, Karen, for having this beautiful podcast and helping others know about that they're not alone.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.